All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about some of India's most important and, honestly, most threatened creatures. It's frogs. We're going to look at why they're in so much trouble and, more importantly, how you can actually be part of the solution.
You know this sound, right? If you've ever been in India during the monsoon, it's unforgettable. It is the soundtrack to the rain, this powerful, living orchestra that just erupts and tells you the water is here. It's the sound of thousands of male frogs, all calling for mates, a frenzy of activity that is just absolutely essential for them to survive.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a pretty chilling thought, but it's not just some sci-fi scenario. It's a real possibility. Across India, and really across the whole world, these voices are starting to fade. So what would it actually mean if we lost them for good?
Well, as it turns out, it would mean a whole lot more than just a quieter rainy season. Let's get into the massive, and I mean massive, role these small creatures play in the environment.
Okay, so the key thing to understand here is that frogs are what's called a keystone species. Think of them as the master recyclers of the natural world. They eat a ton of insects, and yeah, that includes many of the pests that drive farmers crazy. Then they themselves become food for birds, snakes, and all sorts of other animals. They literally turn bug energy into a meal for the rest of the ecosystem. So if you take them out, the whole system gets thrown way out of balance.
And look, this isn't just an issue happening in one place. To really get what's happening in India, we've got to zoom out for a second and look at the global picture, because amphibians are in serious trouble everywhere.
The alarm bells really started ringing way back in the 1980s. Scientists began noticing that amphibians were just disappearing. For a long time, this absolutely devastating fungal disease, Chytridiomycosis, was seen as the main villain, wiping out entire populations. Fast forward to 2023, and the situation got so bad that the IUCN officially declared amphibians the most threatened group of vertebrates on the entire planet.
But here's the thing, the threat has shifted. While disease is definitely still a problem, the two biggest drivers pushing amphibians towards extinction today are climate change and habitat loss. And as you can see, they're running almost neck and neck. This is a really critical change in how we understand this crisis.
Okay, so with that global picture in mind, let's bring our focus back home to India, because the situation here is unique. It has its own complex set of problems, and an absolutely incredible diversity of species at stake.
First, just think about the sheer scale. India is a global hotspot for amphibian biodiversity. We're talking about being home to over 450 distinct species. That's an incredible natural heritage. But, and this is a big but, here's the harsh reality that follows that amazing number. Of those 450-plus species, a full quarter of them are officially categorized as threatened. 1 in 4. And this next number is what really shows you the protection gap. So India has 157 threatened amphibian species. Out of all of those, guess how many are protected under the country's Wildlife Protection Act? Just 6. Not 60. 6. That disparity is just staggering. And what makes this whole thing even trickier is what we don't know. A fifth of India's frog species are labeled data deficient. All that means is we just don't have enough long-term information about them. We can't pinpoint exactly why they're declining or predict how things like climate change, with its crazy, unpredictable monsoons, will affect their breeding. You see the problem, right? It's really hard to protect something you don't fully understand.
Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty bleak. But the story does not end there. Not at all. There is a growing movement of scientists, conservationists, and, just regular citizens who are fighting back and creating real, positive change.
And this isn't brand new. People have been working on this for decades. From creating a special salamander sanctuary back in the 80s, to banning the incredibly destructive trade of frog legs, to even stopping dissections in schools. These were all really important first steps, and they're backed up by ongoing breeding programs at zoos right now.
And today, we're seeing a whole new wave of super innovative projects. Take the Mapping Malabar Tree Toad project, for example. This is this amazing citizen science initiative in the Western Ghats that basically empowers regular people like you and me to help track and understand this really elusive species.
Or check this out, the Amphibian Recovery Project in Kerala. This is a perfect example of how powerful collaboration can be. You've got a wildlife trust working hand in hand with a private plantation company, both aiming for the same conservation goal. How cool is that?
And it's not just in the South. Way up in the Himalayas, another project has successfully gotten local communities directly involved in protecting salamander habitats. And this just proves, time and again, that conservation works best when the people who actually live there are part of the solution.
So all these inspiring projects, they all point to one single thing: the immense power of citizen involvement. And that, right there, is where you come in. You absolutely do not need to be a scientist to make a real difference.
And it really is this simple. Next time you see a frog, just pull out your phone, take a picture, or even record its call. The most important thing is to be ethical about it. Be respectful, don't disturb them or their home. Then you just upload what you found to a platform like iNaturalist. Every single photo, every little recording, it helps fill in those critical data gaps we talked about. It allows scientists to track populations and get a much better picture of the health of our ecosystems.
So the monsoon is coming. That chorus is going to start up again soon. But maybe, just maybe, you'll hear it a little differently this time. It's not just background noise, It's a vital sign of our planet's health. So the real question is, when it starts, will you just hear it, or will you actually be listening?